Thank you guys so much for coming out tonight. Welcome to Awkward Teenage Years. What a horrible night for you to come see a storytelling show, so we really, really appreciate it. I am your host, Grant Bowen. Just by a round of applause, how many of you have been to a storytelling show before?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, cool. So I don't have to catch too many of you up. Just to let you guys know what you're in for, this is Awkward Teenage Years. This is a show about what the title suggests. You're going to see a terrific lineup of storytellers tonight share true personal stories from their middle school and high school years. Stories about learning to drive, first drinks, passing tests, first crushes, and most importantly of all, coming of age. We really appreciate you being here tonight. Like you heard in the house speech, the bar is going to be open during the show. Just wait until you see me up here. Like, feel free to disrespect me all you want. Just walk through, walk by, pretend I'm not here, but please give our storytellers the proper attention they deserve for being here. Thank you guys so much. I'm going to ramble a little bit up here for you guys, just to give our late seaters some time to get here and everything. I don't know how many of you follow politics or if you're generally sane and happy, which, hey, if you are, more power to you. But there's been a lot of conversation lately about social media and the effects it has on youth mental health. Like a lot of conversations, some hearings in the Senate about whether or not we should hold these tech companies' feet to the fire and provide data on the impact these apps have on anxiety and depression in teens. And I think that's amazing, but I also just kind of think they should have just asked a millennial. Because we would have been like, yeah, we could have told you that. Like, we totally could have told you that. We were there on the ground floor, baby. Like, okay, how many millennials do we have in the crowd right now? Okay, all right. So you guys know, we were there. We were there for the start of it, and not just for the invention of Facebook. We were there for MySpace.
Yes.
One day we will get our Oscar-nominated biopic on the creation of MySpace. How many people in here remember their MySpace page? Okay, all right. How many of you remember the top 8?
Yeah.
That's the smoking gun, Your Honor. That is the smoking gun. That's where all of our collective, social anxieties began. Well, that and 9/11, but also, the top 8 on MySpace. For those who may be a little in the dark of what I'm talking about, MySpace had this feature where you could pick 8 of your best friends and rank them from 1 to 8 in a special box that's set towards the top of your profile. I want you to imagine with me for a second. You're a teenager. Your hormones are trigger happy. You desperately need everybody to like you. And then along comes a website that says, hey, what if everyone you knew could rank you? What lists are you on? What lists are you not on? Where are you on those lists? You thought you were cool with Courtney, but Courtney only put you at number 6. Send her a message right now. Wars were fought over the top 8. Many lives were lost. Many friendships destroyed. And you couldn't just put anybody, you could put your family in the top 8, wasn't cool. It had to be your actual friends at school. Some people tried to say, hey, Tom is in my top 8, and we'd all be like, fuck you! Tom is everybody's friend. Tom doesn't count. You leave Tom alone, he's solving important problems on that tri-erase board in the background. And I was not looking to start any wars myself. I was trying to maintain my status within the top 8s that I was on. Let's ignore the ones I wasn't on. I don't have time to dig into that one tonight. But so anytime I felt like I had to rearrange my top 8 in any way, I felt like I was just on the bomb squad trying to figure out which wire to cut. It's like, okay, Trent's got to stay at number 1. Jess and Courtney are at 3, that's okay. I've been hanging out with Dave more. Dave is really cool, but if I put Dave on there, I gotta knock out Susan. If I knock out Susan, is this thing going to blow up in my face? Just rising anxiety every time. Then eventually, MySpace went under. Facebook became the dominant app and everything. MySpace couldn't be saved. Justin Timberlake tried to buy MySpace, and he couldn't save it. A man who was historically known for good decisions that have stood the test of time. Surely this one is his biggest regret. So then we moved on into the current cyber hellscape that we live in now, that is fucked up for all of its own reasons, but I'm like, okay, my anxiety can rest. I am free from the top 8. Then I got engaged. And then we had to plan the wedding. And then the day came where my wife turned to me and said, "Who do you want to be your groomsman?" And suddenly the anxiety just came rising at me. I'm like, oh no, name all your favorite people. The top 8 is back. And so I'm like, okay, my brothers, that's easy. That's 2 right there. I should have like 5 or 6, right? Okay, this guy, I think he can make it. I don't even know if this guy can like afford the suit. Does this guy even live in New York anymore? God, I just need everybody to like me. And my wife finally went, you're an adult. They're all adults. It's fine, just ask who you want. And I'm like, okay, smart lady. Thank you. And the funniest part of all of this is, if you look at where I am now, it's if you take me out for a drink after the show, and I hope you do, but if you take me out for a drink after the show, get like 2 or 3 beers in me, and then you put me on the spot and you be like, how many close, personal, ride or die friends do you have? I'd probably be like, I don't know, about 8. And with that, let's go get on with the show. Thank you guys so much. All right, our first storyteller tonight, she is a native Texan who is the only person that moved to NYC during the pandemic. Living fearlessly. She works in nonprofit as a creative producer and a cultural organizer, and is a current fellow at Urban Design Forum. She's performed her stories at the Magnet Theater and under St. Mark's right here, and is excited to be a first-time guest on Awkward Teenage Years. Please welcome Jenna Carrens.
Thank you. I grew up in a tiny Texas town with a population of around 12,000, surrounded by refineries, generations of people that never left, and a football field with a jumbotron that cost about the same as most of my teachers' salaries. On Friday nights, the entire town shut down because everyone was attending the local high school football games. And every 16 and 17-year-old football player was viewed as royalty, and that they were in the prime of their life. They had painted signs of themselves put in their own front yards, mid-throw, with their jerseys promptly painted as large as possible, so that when people drove by, they could honk and wave and yell their names. My siblings and I were a bit different. We weren't so good at sports. My sister Alicia made the she made the basketball team in 7th grade, the B team, not the A team. And she ended up making a layup for the opposing team on her first game. In 8th grade, I made the volleyball team, the B team, not the A team. And my arms were so weak that when I tried to serve overhand, I missed the net 9 out of 10 times. Instead, we threw ourselves into every sort of liberal arts class that the town offered, which was minimal, but it got us fueled and devoted and fed our perfectionism to learning how to play instruments instead of throwing balls. So with this, we decided, hey, let's join the marching band, because that way we can still be a part of this Friday Night Lights madness that our town consisted of. My sister Alicia is 3 years older than me, so when I was a freshman, she was a senior, and we shared 1 full year of high school together. I was in the percussion and played the snare drum, and Alicia played the clarinet and was a twirler. So we shared the same pre-summer and after-school practices, getting ready for that halftime performance at the football games. And in Texas, I don't know if you know this, but there's really only one season, and it's hot, like 100 and 110 degrees hot, but it didn't stop us. We would be outside every single day doing our heel-toe marches into formations that were barely visible as anything but basic shapes from an aerial view. And at the helm of the entire marching band was the drum major, Matt Ravey, my sister's long-term crush and forever date to every single high school dance, but never her boyfriend. Matt was super cute. He had a bunch of freckles and it always looked like he was blushing. He had this laid back sort of cool guy vibe, and that was very much a direct result of his upbringing. He had two very hip English teacher parents that listened to vinyl at home and supported the only local community theater in town. And our parents, on the other hand, were quite predictable. We attended Catholic Mass every Sunday out of fear, and we rotated restaurants that we would eat lunch at after. Luby's, our La Suprema. My sister and I were dying for some sort of culture or interesting thing to happen to us in our lives. Matt Ravy's good friend, Jacob Weldon, happened to be my percussion section leader that year. Jacob was a junior, and as section leader, he led our inner percussion meetings and practices, making sure that we stayed on beat and had some sort of rhythm. And he did this in a way that was very confident, but in a kind of who cares attitude. Though I knew he cared quite a bit and was quite the perfectionist, just like me. Jacob just got me, you know. He made me laugh really hard during intentional quiet rest when the whole band was playing a song. He wanted to dress up in weird costumes with me during Spirit Week so that we could get a lot of attention and laughs in our photo taken for the yearbook. And on away games, we would share a seat together, and we would listen to his favorite song in headphones, Semisonic's Closing Time. And I would lay my head on his shoulder and close my eyes and pretend like I was asleep. It was glorious. And on weekends, sometimes my parents were out of town, and I would steal their car, and I would drive as fast as I could past Jacob's house just to see if his green Tacoma truck was in the driveway. And once we found ourselves in the percussion closet together as we were getting ready for a football game, changing into our band uniforms. The lights were off, we were both behind parallel bass drums, and as we pulled up our pants and pulled our suspenders over our shoulders, our eyes locked. We were just very in sync. Jacob was also very popular. There were several other girls in band that I knew had a crush on him, but Jacob told me that the only girl he ever liked was me. Matt and Jacob had a sort of love-hate relationship at school. They were in a lot of extracurriculars together, like show choir and advanced classes, and they had a very sort of competitive energy to them. But they were part of this friend group that was very tight-knit and hung out together almost every day. Football season that year was a flop. We didn't make it to state, and the town went into mourning. And our, halftime performances turned into holiday concerts that then turned into spring wind ensemble competitions. And as the year went on, Jacob and I got a lot closer, but he never became my boyfriend.
Ooh.
I was beginning to really understand and feel how Alicia felt with Matt, just really confused and frustrated and at a loss. What was wrong with us? What was wrong with me? So that time, the school year was coming to an end, and people were deciding what colleges they were going to go to, and the tryouts for the next year were starting to take place. And very unexpectedly, Jacob decided to try out for drum major, and with a lot of time practicing with Matt, he made it. We were all really shocked, and he was so excited. I remember him crying when they announced his name, and he ran into the band teacher's office, picked up the phone, and called his mom to tell her. Matt, on the other hand, decided to stay put. He was going to attend the local university like many of the other graduating seniors and live at home with his parents. Alicia, my sister, got accepted into a college that allowed her to move away. And on graduation day, when she was walking across the stage, she grabbed her diploma, and it was like she had burst through the ribbon at a marathon as a first place runner. She no longer needed the validation of anyone in her hometown, and her life was just starting. I, on the other hand, was still bummed and confused, and I was going to try to put my energy into anything else, which at that time was curating my bumper sticker collection for my new-to-me 1991 GeoPrism. But summer hit again, and we were back at it. Sweat dripping down my back, my metal carrier with my snare drum in front of me, my face beet red in the Texas heat. We were practicing for our halftime performances for the upcoming season, now with Jacob as our drum major. But Jacob stood on a platform above us all, and he would wave his hands around directing and blow his whistle constantly, instead of marching right next to me, making jokes and goofing off. Whenever we would stand at attention, I would be looking up, standing still and frozen, but everything inside of me was running like crazy, and the only thought that I could process was, would this year be any different? I did have a new section leader that year for percussion, Kellen Segura. Kellen was the type of guy that kind of just knew all the gossip in school, and he was also one of those guys that was really good friends with Jacob in that tight-knit group of friends. One day after practice, Kellen and I were walking back to the band hall, just a routine that Jacob and I used to do daily, and he told me that he had heard a secret that he was pretty sure was true. He stopped and he looked at me and he said, "Can you believe it? I hear that Matt Ravy has been hooking up with Jacob for well over a year." I didn't know if I was going to pass out from heat exhaustion or shock, but I was really taken aback. But I didn't want anyone to notice, and Jacob hadn't told me this yet at all. So I brushed it off like nothing had happened and hurried back to the band hall, put my drums away. I hitched a ride home with a friend. I sat in her minivan and I manually rolled down the window. I put my head on the car door and closed my eyes and pretended like I was asleep. And football season went, it was another flop, and it turned into holiday concerts and spring competitions again. And Jacob and I did find our dynamic again. We were goofing off in band classes, and he ended up making fun of himself for even trying out for drum major. It was great. We were back to normal. But before the end of the school year, before Jacob graduated, he finally came out. It was official and made sense. There was nothing wrong with me or my sister. We simply were trying to date two guys who were actually dating each other the entire time. And none of this really even mattered anymore because I got exactly what I needed. Before Jacob went off to college, he reassured me that I really was the only girl he ever liked.
Aww.
Thank you.
Oh my God. Okay, we need the version of Friday Night Lights, the series, only it focuses on the band kids, because that's a whole season right there. Season finale, he comes out. It's amazing. Wow. That is so nice. I was formerly a band kid myself. In middle school, I was in the concert band, and I wish I had played something as cool as the drums. No, I played the tuba. No. Yeah, but it might have been cool in hindsight, but at the time it was not like, I wasn't going to pick up any girls that way. I was going to, "Hey, how you doing?" One more time for Jenna, everybody. All right, our next storyteller is a first-time storyteller. She's never told a story on stage before. This is her debut. A longtime fan of the show. She loves watching The Traitors and eating pasta.
Yes, The Traitors.
She's very thankful to everyone for braving the rain to be here tonight, and we are too. Give her a big round of applause. Give it up for Marisa Theobald.
Hi. I grew up on Cape Cod in Massachusetts, and once the summer was over and the beaches were closed, there honestly wasn't that much to do. So I spent most of my weekends going over to my friend's house for slumber parties. We would talk about which boy band member we were gonna marry and plan very elaborate weddings. And while it was all very exciting talking about what adventures could happen in my future, I was really ready for something to happen now. Most of my life was kind of the same. I just kept meeting the same people, doing the same things, and that's when I got the opportunity to go to Japan. So my middle school had a sister school in the north part of the big island of Japan, and they would select about 10 kids to go, and you would stay with a family for a little bit under 2 weeks. So I was thrilled when I was chosen, and we spent the next few months doing these little seminars. We would learn everything that you would need to know about Japan, all about the culture, how to eat with chopsticks, take off your shoes when you go into somebody's house. I learned how to introduce myself in Japanese. Konnichiwa, watashi wa Marisa desu. So I was feeling very ready to go to Japan. I had learned everything you needed to learn about the culture, and I was all set. When I got to Japan, I met the Miura family. It was Kasumi, who was about my age, her mom, her dad, her grandmother, her brother, and her sister. And we started to get along great, but we quickly realized I knew about 3 phrases in Japanese. They knew about 5 phrases in English. So we were going to have to figure out a different way to communicate. So it was a lot of like hand movements, which was easy for me, smiles, just a lot of expression. But we found our rhythm. The first night, the grandmother made this like big meal. I tried tempura for the first time. Everything was going great. During the days, all the Americans would get together and we'd do different field trips. And everyone was really getting along with their families, other than my friend Jamie. So Jamie just wasn't getting along with them, and she came in and she was sobbing. And she's like, "They made me go to the public baths." What? That was not covered in our cultural seminars. What are those? It's a place where everyone is naked and they bathe together and they laughed at me. And as I'm comforting her, I'm thinking, well, the Miura family, they're not nudists. Like, we're shrimp tempura people. We're not like naked people. I think I'm gonna be okay. And the next couple days go as planned, and I'm in the car with Mrs. Miura, and she's pointing out things. Bank, hospital, school, baths. What? Baths. Tomorrow, baths. Oh. And I realized they did not teach me how to say in Japanese, I am 14 years old. I am not comfortable enough to see myself naked. I am definitely not comfortable enough for you to see me naked. And I definitely don't want to see you naked. Hard no, hard pass. But all I said was, no. And she said, yes, tomorrow, no. Yes, no, yes. And I quickly realized I'm in a losing fight and I am going to the public baths tomorrow. So the next day I started thinking, okay, you can figure this out. It doesn't have to be that bad. You just bring a bathing suit. They can all be naked. You're gonna wear a bathing suit. So I start packing my bag, I put in my bathing suit. Kasumi comes up behind me, takes out my bathing suit. No. I say, yes. I put it back in. No, yes, no, yes. And I'm like, I had a very similar fight with your mother yesterday, and I lost that one, and I am losing this one. And I started to feel just so out of my comfort zone. I am so over my head, and I gotta get in the car. So it's a group of us going, including Kasumi, her mother, her grandmother. We get there, it's this big building. There's like a check-in desk, and then 2 sets of doors, men, women. We start to go into the women's undressing room, and my anxiety is going from the bottom of my toes to the top of my head. And everyone starts going to their different areas and starts just getting undressed. And I go incredibly slowly because I am very much confronted with the fact that I am a chubby American girl and I don't look like these very teeny Japanese girls, and we're all about to get naked and show our bodies to each other. So I'm going slow, and Kasumi comes up to me, and she shows me she has a towel wrapped around herself. A towel! I did not think about towels. Okay, back in business. This is gonna be okay. I get a towel, I wrap it around myself, I very awkwardly take off the rest of my clothes. And it's great. Nobody saw anything. I've got my towel, and then I realize I'm wearing the necklace that my friend gave me, and I don't want to lose it. So I gotta take it off. And I am shaking. And I can't get the clasp, and it is just not going. It is not going. It is. And that's when Kasumi's very nice and very naked grandmother comes over and offers to help me. Okay. And she comes up, I am looking at my first naked 80-year-old body, and I don't know, do you look up? Do you look down? Is it rude to look down? Is it rude not to look down? I don't know what to do. I can't do this. I can't do this. And then the necklace is off. And I'm naked, other than the towel. I put the necklace away, and I gotta walk through that second set of doors. So I do it. I walk through, and there is maybe like 5 or 6 jacuzzis, women of all different shapes and sizes, but I'm not looking. I am looking straight at the back wall, and I am just gonna walk in my towel, following the pack, and we get into the jacuzzi in the back, and I sit as high up as I possibly can. I'm here. And then I start to smile a little bit because everybody's just kind of talking and laughing, and I sink a little bit further into the jacuzzi and start to relax. The water's warm and nice, and I start to look around, and I realize I am in a place I never thought that I would be, doing something I never even thought you could do, with people I never thought I would meet, and yes, I am so far outside my comfort zone, but I'm exactly where I want to be. Thank you.
First time in my butt.
How about that for a first time story? How about that? Great job. That was crazy. You know, we've talked about this, that I did not have the opportunities to travel abroad when I was in middle school or high school or anything. I was lucky if we got to go to the Japanese steakhouse that was 45 minutes away from home, let alone go to an entirely different country. It's amazing that you did that. And, you know, in terms of like the first time when I had to be publicly naked. Okay, so I have to tell, before I tell you where it was, I have to tell you that your mind is gonna think it was in some context, and you have to understand it was in a purely like shower context. It was a church camp. It was a church camp. The first time I had to be around other dudes naked was at church camp. One more time for Marisa, everybody. Our next storyteller, if I can get my notes open. Yes, it's me. He was a writer on Rob McElhenney's Admin Verse. He is a Moth Story Slam winner. He has a solo show that is opening in April, and he has braved the green line of the subway to be here tonight. He is our third time here. Give it up for Azhar Bande-Ali.
Hello. So I was born in India, and when I was a teenager, my family decided to make my life hell and move to America. And my cousins who were still in India would call me a Gora, which is the Hindi word for a white person. And I think they thought that it was a compliment, but it made me feel like they were rejecting me as a community and that I did not belong with them anymore. And it started a whole lot of identity crisis for me where I got called a lot of names, but I knew at the end of the day, deep down, I identified as a curry. And because I was so far away from my community, I didn't identify as like a delicious butter chicken curry. I felt like I was this bland dal that had no flavor or spice in it. And so when I turned 19, I overcorrected. And I got myself a job at this Indian jewelry store in Atlanta. And I thought, this is what's going to fix me. Does it? Well, let's find out. The interview for this job got even better because I was sitting there with the owner of the store, and he said, if you hit your sales quota, we might take you to India on a purchasing trip for free. And I felt like I was Harry Potter and somebody was going to take me out of my staircase room and take me to Hogwarts. I was so excited. Everything about this jewelry store was meant to show Indian royalty. There were signs of Indian celebrities wearing our jewelry that were all touched up to make them look a little fairer than they actually were. There was the boss's or the owner's Mercedes was parked outside all hours of the day, and bright lights shine in your face all the time to make it look like you were prettier than you actually were. It was all made to look like we could take a tax accountant from Deloitte and make her look like the Queen of New Delhi. And I, at the end of my first month at this job, my sales quota did not look good. And I was very upset about potentially missing out on an opportunity to go to my homeland. And then one day, this couple walked in, and the wife was happy, but the husband was not. And they came up to me and they said they wanted to look at some rings. And they picked out this 1.5 carat VVS Clarity E-color solitaire ring that cost about $27,500. And I had about $17.50 in my bank account. And I thought if this sale could work out, it would change my life, because that is exactly the amount of money that I needed to hit my sales quota. And we started negotiating, and eventually we hit a wall, and the guy was just not budging. And I kept trying to remind him that his wife looked upset. He seemed, somebody lighted up there. He seemed okay with sleeping on the couch. And I knew that this guy was on the verge of walking out. And if he walked out, that plane to India would walk away in the air with me hanging onto my luggage on the runway. And so I made a last-ditch effort to wave to the owner of the store to come help out. Now, normally when this guy comes out, our MO is that he plays the good cop, I play the bad cop. I'm like the young, brash guy that wants to get the sale done, and he's the calm Indian Yoda that settles everything down. But this time, when he was walking out, he looked like he wanted to play bad cop. He storms in and he goes, "What happened, beta?" Now, I get it. How much toxicity does it take for somebody to call you beta in public? When I heard this word, when I heard him call me that for the first time, I really wanted to kick this guy's ass. And he was just like this, 5'4", malnourished, old Indian man. But I reminded myself eventually that beta is the Indian word for son. And what he was actually doing was being affectionate to me, including me and his family. And so I decided not to kick his ass. And I told him about the deal, I told him what was going on, and he went in hard with the customer, talking about, the cost of the diamond is very high, the labor is very high. If we sell you this ring at this cost, we're not going to make a profit, and we're going to have to shut the store down. And they kept going back and forth. And I was like, oh God, please don't walk away. Eventually, after some time, I swooped in with a peace offering, and I offered a middle ground, and the customer took it, and everybody shook hands, and I started thinking about what I was going to pack in my bag to go to India. Everything was great. And just as everybody was shaking hands, the customer started becoming a little friendly with the boss, and he asked, "Hey, this kid is pretty good. Is this your son?" And I started blushing because this is like the highest compliment you can get at a jewelry store. And I started imagining the owner of the store saying, "Oh, we're all talking about renewing our passports and getting a visa to go to India to show this kid my homeland and take him on a business trip. But he's not my son, but I treat him like my son." And then he opened his mouth and he said, "Ye mera naukar hai aur main uska malik hu. Ab aap socho hum kya rakhte hain?" Which translates to, "This is my servant,
Oh.
and I am his master.
Oh.
You decide what we're to one another." I was stunned. Not because I was embarrassed, not because I finally saw how this guy saw me, but because he was going to ruin my sale. I really wanted to go to India. And so, I just was trying to figure out what I was going to do. The customer looked at me for a reaction because, he didn't want to overreact if I was chill. And so I smiled at him and I pretended like I didn't understand Hindi. And he gave me his credit card and I started ringing up the transaction. And the owner of the store stormed back into his office and didn't say a word to me. The thing about trauma is that when I got home that night, I wasn't sure if what I thought happened actually happened. My heart was gaslighting my brain so that we could go to India and get a free trip. Well, and reconnect with our culture. And there was only one way to be sure about what happened. See, there's this one unified mailbox, email inbox at the office that gets every hour security footage from the last hour that gets sent to this central mailbox so that we can check it out if theft happened or somebody stole something, we can just go to the mailbox and look at the security tape. I decided I was going to go to the office next day, go past the showroom, sit down by a computer, open up the email, find my video, and find out what actually happened. So I did that. The next day I got to the computer, I opened the email. Sandwiched between a bunch of emails about passports and visas was this one slot of hour where I had made my sale. So I opened it up and the video was loading, and in that time I was like, let me see if there was an email about my visa that I might have to cancel. And as I was loading up emails, the video went full screen. ये मेरा नौकर है, मैं उसका मालिक हूँ. ये मेरा नौकर है, मैं उसका मालिक हूँ. Closed the video, started looking for the email. And on the screen, the last email that was open was an email from the Indian consulate. And they had a letter in the email that said, "We received your request to renew your passport. And we found, name of the owner of the store, is a Dalit, which is a untouchable lower caste person from India. When you renew your passport, the Indian embassy sends a policeman to your last known address to find out what caste you were. And they make it a point to tell you that you are an untouchable." I saved the email and the video to a thumb drive and I went back to the showroom as if nothing happened. And when I got out there, the lights, the Mercedes outside, the posters of all these celebrities that were smiling down at us, didn't look like a celebration of our culture. It looked like a facade for this guy who just hated himself. And by the afternoon, I decided I was going to quit this job. I was going to go do something else. I couldn't be here anymore. And so I walked into the owner's office and I told him, I was going to tell him what I thought. And before I could speak, he said, "Beta, can I apologize about what happened yesterday?" And he told me that he had gotten some bad news and he shouldn't have taken it out on me. It was something else. And that he was sorry. Had I not known about what I saw in the email, I probably wouldn't have believed him. And I had a choice. I could take the email, I could take the video, and I could, take revenge and go to the press or something. I could quit and not do anything, or I could do what a good curry does. A good curry takes whatever ingredient it has and makes the best flavor food possible. And so I pulled a chair and I sat down and I told him my plan. I said, I'm not going to India because I don't want to fix my curry. I'm going to fix the curry that I have in my little India that is in front of me. We talked about how to hire models that don't look like British people, but look like our customers, that have a variety of different skin colors and shades, that look like the Dalit people of India, that look like my shade of brown. We talked about buying jewelry from wholesalers that complement the skin color of people that look like our customers and not like British people. In April that year, we launched our 50 Shades of Brown advertising campaign to celebrate Dalit History Month, which happens in April. And it's the proudest accomplishment of my life. I eventually quit that job, but every April, I remind myself that culture is not about the flavor of the curry you have, but it's about celebrating the different types of curries that make up what we call community. Thank you.
Oh my God, that is great. I've heard you tell this story before. The fact that he calls you like his servant is just always so wild to me. Like I have actually been a personal assistant before, like maybe the closest I've gotten to actually being a paid servant of some kind. And if my former boss had said like, oh, by the way, this is my servant and I'm his master, I'd be like, hey, can you step outside for a second? Can we talk this over real quick? One more time for Azhar, everybody. All right, let's keep the show going. Our next storyteller is an educator, an organizer, an activist, and a storyteller from Chinatown, formerly a special education teacher in Brooklyn and Chicago. She's been featured in the Huffington Post, on PBS, and on the Moth Radio Hour. We're happy to have her back. Please welcome Annie Tan.
I think it's loosey-goosey, righty-tighty, but actually it was the other way. It's a clockwise thing, you realize. It's not left or right, it's a circle. Anyway, so you can see behind me, this is high school 17-year-old me. And I would have killed in middle school for this outfit. Because in middle school, I got all the hand-me-downs from my brothers. And when you have two brothers, your mom basically gives up on buying you anything nice in terms of girls' clothing. She used to dress me up in these like frilly dresses with like lace that came up to my thigh and then had like the little like scratchy lace pattern that would be itchy. Mary Jane's with a strap that would dig into my feet. And just like a collar that just like never ever would stop. And so I was super happy when in 5th grade my mom finally gave up on me wearing dresses. And so I had these like shirts that like were 3 inches off my shoulder. I basically looked like a box, a walking box. And I was great with that. All of 6th grade, I was super happy showing off my Pokemon cards because I knew how to play the Pokemon trading card game. And I could talk to the girls and the boys in the class about Digimon World on the PlayStation 1. I even knew how to play Magic. Like, I was that girl. So I felt like I was like the cool tomboy, you know, and I was very happy to stay in that lane until in 7th grade, this boy joined my class. His first name in Chinese starts with a Z, so he renamed himself the Greek god of thunder, Zeus. And he was so nice. He was so kind. He had the biggest smile. He was athletic, but like the slim athletic, so he didn't look like, you know, he like maintained himself better than we did. He was just the nicest guy, and I instantly fell in love with him, and I had no idea what to do with all of these feelings, because when you have your first crush, it's just all the hormones are there for this one person. And I knew with my tomboy looks, I would never stand out to Zeus. Not with the girls wearing like North Face jackets that like were slim fit, you know, jeans that look like my current jeans that actually show your butt. I just had like the Old Navy ones that used to be like a funnel. I hope they're better now, Old Navy, but like 2000s Old Navy had awful jeans. So I wasn't gonna compete that way. But I had 3 things going for me. So first, I was really smart. Oh, hence Annie tangent behind you. So like everyone respected me and no one made fun of me because they wanted to cheat off my homework. So like, respect. The second piece was that I was pretty like wily in figuring out my way. So like in 6th grade, because I just like wanted to know the dirt on people, I would create screen names on AOL Instant Messenger. And at its height, I had 50 screen names. And I would message people and be like, hey, do you like that person? Hey, what do you think of that person? I never asked for myself, because if I asked for myself, it would be pretty obvious it was me. But through the grapevine, I got Zeus's screen name. And then I messaged him, I was like, hey, it's Annie. And then we got into like this chat, and it was such a nice chat. He was just such a nice person. And then to show my clout, then I would post it on my blog, the whole chat, just copy and paste on my Zanga. I just thought that would make me cool, but probably not, because at the end of the 8th grade, when I finally told Zeus I liked him, the only 2 words he said was, I know. And the third thing that was going for me was that, as you can tell, I'm pretty loud and like unashamed of myself. And this worked out beautifully because we had drama class together. And so I played Tybalt in the play, and Romeo kills me. I played a person, I forget their name, who wears a donkey head and falls in love because of a love potion. And by 8th grade, somehow I land the leading lady role of Helena. And I'm gonna be the audience plant, just opening the show, and I'm gonna shout out to the stage to Hermia, you counterfeit, you puppet, you. Pretty great way to get noticed, right? But then I learned that Zeus had a girlfriend. Now I still thought I had a chance, so my name is Annie Tan, okay? His girlfriend's name was Annie Chan. And I was like, I still have a chance if he likes Annie Chan. It's really close to my name. I think so, but spoiler alert, Zeus and Annie Chan got married and are still together today. Middle school sweethearts, like who knew? Anyway, so for the show, I didn't know it for the leading lady role, but I had to wear a dress. And I wasn't sure what I thought about that because like I hadn't worn a dress since 4th grade. But Miss Hodges, our drama teacher, was like, oh, no, you have to wear it. So like she pulled out a dress from the closet, like the drama closet, I guess. It was this blue and black, beautiful striped gown. They had zipped it down, and they did the thing where, it's like you're like going to try on a wedding dress where they put it on the floor and all you do is put your feet into it. And then my classmates pulled it up over me, over my burgeoning boobs. I didn't even have a bra yet at this point, but my boobs were growing in. And it had like a built-in bra, so it made me look great. And my butt looked great in it. And everyone around me who, I don't have a mirror yet, they're all like, oh my God, Annie, you're so beautiful. And I go to the mirror and I look at myself. And I'm like, I don't look right. This doesn't feel right. And then another girl, one of the popular North Face dressing girls, pulled me aside. She's like, no, let me like braid your hair. So she braided the side bang here, and then she braided the side bang here, and then she like tied it back, and it was like kind of this Renaissance-y, Shakespeare-y look, and I looked at myself in the mirror, I was like, no, and I tore the hair back, And I ran out to be the audience plant, and I sat down, and I was like, why am I so upset? And I was like, I don't want to be forced into this. I don't want to be forced into anything. I just want to wear what I want to wear. And I was like, what do I want to wear? I'm wearing like this like boxy t-shirt that's like, you know, I want to wear that t-shirt, or even this t-shirt. This t-shirt would have been the dream of mine in middle school. But it made me think, I want to pick my own clothes. I want to pick, you know, the things I want to do. Junior high school prom was coming up, and I like didn't want my brothers to know, but I wanted to wear a dress. But I also didn't want my mom to buy me a dress because like, you can see back there too, I'm wearing Medicaid glasses. You only get like 2 or 3 frames. Like we did not have the money to buy me a junior high school dress, but when my mom wasn't looking, I snuck in her closet and I like combed through, and I found, as a New Yorker would, a black dress. And I pulled it up over myself, and it wasn't as tight-fitting as that blue and black dress. It was a little bit baggier, but I wanted it a little baggier because I was not ready yet for the tight-fit dress. I needed something to like, you know, not show off my burgeoning boobs or butt. I needed something that just felt right, and this felt right. I went to junior high school prom with the girls and the boys that I was friends with. I even like saw one of my classmates just on the floor, and I asked him to dance, and he said yes, and we had a dance. And then I never saw him again because he went to another high school. But it made me feel like, oh, I can choose. And maybe when I have money, because 13-year-old me did not have any money, but maybe one day when I have money, I can maybe pick like the jeans that fit my butt, a t-shirt that actually matches my shoulders, and maybe finally a dress that I actually want to wear. Thank you so much.
Listen, I was known for going a little overboard to try to find out if somebody liked me when I was in school. 50 AIM scream names is an astonishing feat. I'm actually impressed.
Thank you.
I'm actually very impressed. You won't find evidence of me going overboard because, as I stated earlier, MySpace is gone. One more time for Annie, everybody. All right, we got one more storyteller left tonight, but before we get to them, we got a little housekeeping to do. Let's say if you've been enjoying the show and you happen to be an aspiring storyteller yourself, we're getting there. It's the, if you're like, hey, I have an awkward teen story that might be good for the show, we'd love to hear about it. So feel free to send like a 2 or 3 sentence pitch to awkwardteenageyears@gmail.com. We are actively checking, actively looking. We've had like, if you include Marisa, we've had like 2 or 3 first-time storytellers tell a story like on this stage as part of our show and everything. So we are, thank you. We are actively, we welcome you with open arms if you have stories. And if you want to keep up to date on our upcoming shows, you can follow us on these cyber hellscapes right here. So we're on Instagram. That's where we kind of post the most. I know that because I'm the one doing it. We're on Facebook here. Twitter's gone. We got a Threads. We're not really on it, and don't act like you are, because like we looked at that we all looked at that the one time, and we were like, oh, we're fine. And if you want to see our archive of past shows, we've been doing this show live since 2020. It all started right here in this theater during the Frigid Festival that year. The last live show a lot of people saw that year. And then shortly afterward, we picked things back up. We did it as a live stream during the height of lockdown and everything. And then eventually when things reopened, we came back here, and we've been doing it here for 4 years going on now. So we're very happy. If you want to see our backlog of shows, we have videos on YouTube. You can see some of these storytellers who've appeared before and other great storytellers. Just search at Awkward Teenage Years on YouTube. And with that, guys, that's our show. Thank you so much for coming out tonight. Let's hear it one more time for our storytellers, for Jenna, for Marisa, for Azhar, Annie, and Dave. Give it up for Lauren, our tech wizard in the booth. with the most infectious laugh in the house. Give it up for Cameron and Debbie for working the house tonight. We really appreciate it. Our next show is going to be in May, so we hope you'll come back and join us then. Thank you guys so much. Have a good night. Be safe out there.